Have you ever wondered, why do legs weaken so quickly after age 60? You still eat 3 meals a day, still drink milk regularly, but climbing stairs leaves you breathless, standing for long periods makes your ankles tingle, and just one small stumble, and your whole body can't get back up. This isn't a normal sign of aging. This is your body speaking, telling you that your bone foundation is thinning, weakening, and the worst part is, it often happens silently, painlessly, until it's too late. Do you know what worries me the most? It's not muscle loss or back pain. It's the bone loss in the legs, especially in the femoral neck, the top of the thigh bone. Just a seemingly harmless fall can lead many older adults to be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of their lives. And this can happen even if you still eat a balanced diet. You are in this, done. But I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this to share a very small, yet very powerful ray of hope. There's a small, often overlooked group of foods because they're too simple. Nuts. They're not just snacks, they're microscopic building materials for your leg bones, helping with better mineralization, reducing inflammation around joints, and supporting the nourishment of new bone marrow. Unfortunately, many people only think of milk or calcium supplements, not knowing that a small handful of nuts used correctly, consistently every day, can make a huge difference for weakening legs. And in this video, I'll share with you 5 simple, easy to find types of nuts at any American supermarket, but with strong scientific evidence of their ability to increase bone density, especially in the legs, the most fragile area when you fall. We'll start with the least mentioned type, but one that's quietly proving its power in both experimental mice and large nutritional surveys in the United States. Can you guess what kind of nut it is? Food number 1, chia seeds. I always tell my older patients that when the body starts to tire, it's often the small things that make the biggest difference. And in the world of nutrition, nothing symbolizes that more clearly than chia seeds. Tiny as dust, almost tasteless, but if used regularly and correctly, they can become a silent friend that helps maintain bone density, especially in your legs, which bear your entire body weight every day. Did you know? Most serious bone fractures in older adults occur in the leg area, especially the femoral neck. This area is very susceptible to bone density loss when the body is deficient in minerals or there's an imbalance between bone formation and resorption. A slight slip when stepping into the bathtub, or just one loss of balance on the stairs, if bones aren't strong enough, the consequence can be months of immobility or even never being able to walk as before. That's why I'm always looking for gentle yet effective methods, and chia seeds are one of the most reliable options to start with. The story of chia seeds doesn't begin in the clinic, but in the lab. In a 10-month study in the United States, scientists fed Sprague Dawley rats a diet containing 10% chia seeds daily. The results after nearly a year were astonishing. The total bone mass of this group of rats was significantly higher. Their bones appeared thicker and denser under the microscope and richer in minerals compared to the control group. These data are not yet sufficient to translate directly into recommendations for humans, but they are an important indicator that chia seeds contain substances that can directly affect bone tissue. So what exactly is in chia seeds? First, they contain a group of minerals I call the regenerative quartet: calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and manganese, all of which are components of a strong bone framework. In particular, the calcium content in chia seeds is many times higher than milk by dry weight. But minerals alone aren't enough. Chia seeds also contain a form of omega-3 fat called ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, which, though not as potent as EPA or DHA in fatty fish, has the ability to gently inhibit inflammation and reduce the activity of bone-resorbing cells. This combination of minerals and plant-based anti-inflammatories is why chia seeds can make a difference. As your body begins to enter its 60s, the imbalance between bone-forming cells and bone-resorbing cells accelerates rapidly. Without any checkpoints, the bone always loses. And chia seeds, with their compounds, act as a gentle but stable resistance, helping to slow down the process of bone loss. However, you might be wondering, all this sounds convincing, but are there any human studies? The answer is, although there haven't been any randomized controlled clinical trials, RCTs, on chia seeds and bone density in humans, large survey data like NHANES, which has tracked tens of thousands of Americans for years, show that groups who regularly consume chia seeds tend to absorb calcium better and have higher average bone density. These results cannot prove causation, but they are strong enough for us to consider using chia seeds as part of a bone protection strategy in older adults. What I like most about chia seeds is their practicality. No complex cooking, no elaborate meal planning needed. You just need to soak 2 teaspoons of chia seeds in 150 ml, about 5 ounces, of warm water for about 10 minutes, letting the seeds swell into a soft pudding. Then, mix this into unsweetened Greek yogurt, add a few slices of banana or apple, and you have a breakfast rich in protein, minerals, and extremely good for your bones. If you're not used to eating breakfast, you can also use it as a mid-morning snack. Just remember to drink extra water to help the seeds fully expand in your intestines and avoid bloating. One very important point I always emphasize to older users: don't overdo it. Although chia seeds are very safe, if you are taking anticoagulants like warfarin or high-dose aspirin, you should still consult your doctor first. While the ALA in chia is a mild form, it is still a type of omega-3, and at high doses, it can affect blood clotting in some sensitive individuals. Additionally, don't forget to check your total daily fiber intake, as chia seeds can provide up to 10 grams of fiber per 2 tablespoons. Too much fiber concentrated in one meal can cause bloating or digestive upset in people who already eat little fiber. For beginners, try using 1 teaspoon per day, then gradually increase after 1 week if there are no problems. When my patients ask, "Doctor, are chia seeds really effective?" I often reply with a smile: effective if you are patient and use them correctly. Chia seeds are not magic, but they are a small brick in a strong bone foundation. And the most amazing thing is, they are so small that you can add them to your daily life without feeling burdened. How long has it been since you thought about your leg bones? If you're reading this today, perhaps it's time to choose something light, but strong enough to support your legs in the years to come. And if you're waiting for something stronger, with clearer human evidence, then the next nut will surprise you. Just 3 to 4 nuts a day, but it can make a huge difference in thigh and backbone density. Let's move on to the next section. Nut number 2, Brazil nuts. Large nuts used sparingly, but with great effectiveness. There's an interesting truth that few people know. The femur, thigh bone, is the largest and strongest bone, yet also the most prone to fracture once you turn 60. And when this area weakens, walking, standing steadily, and maintaining balance all become threatened. That's why I always prioritize finding nutrients that truly go deep into this support axis. And among them, selenium from Brazil nuts is an undeniable candidate. If chia seeds are loved for being easy to eat and safe, then Brazil nuts surprise people with their significant effectiveness from an extremely small amount. Just 3 to 4 Brazil nuts daily can provide you with 60 to 90 micrograms of selenium, almost reaching the daily recommended intake for adults in the US. And it is this micronutrient, selenium, that is proven to be closely linked to bone density in weight-bearing areas like the lumbar spine and femoral neck. This is no longer just a hypothesis. Large analyses from the NHANES survey system, which tracks tens of thousands of American adults, have shown a clear trend. Those with higher selenium intake often have higher bone density, especially in the lumbar and thigh regions, and simultaneously have a lower risk of osteoporosis. And the good news is that selenium from food, especially from Brazil nuts, is very well absorbed, requiring almost no complex metabolic steps in the body. But how does selenium work? I'll try to explain it in the easiest way possible. In the body, selenium is a component of a powerful antioxidant enzyme called glutathione peroxidase. The job of this enzyme is to neutralize free radicals, molecules that can destroy important structures, including collagen in bone tissue. And as you know, collagen is what makes bones not only strong but also flexible. When free radicals are eliminated, the environment around the bones becomes healthier, allowing bone tissue to regenerate better. In addition, some new studies also show that selenium can increase the activity of a growth factor called IGF-1, which is essential for weight-bearing tissues like muscles and bones. IGF-1 is like a construction manager. It helps the body mobilize materials, direct new bone formation, and repair minor daily damage from impacts or stress. Therefore, when you provide enough selenium, you are silently supporting a stable bone building and protection cycle. In terms of practice, I often advise older patients to keep things simple but consistent. There's no need to eat a whole handful of nuts, just 3-4 Brazil nuts a day, eaten as a dessert after lunch or an afternoon snack is enough. You can combine Brazil nuts with a few apple slices or berries. This adds fiber and balances the richness of the nuts. If you want to make a healthy snack, try slicing Brazil nuts thinly and sprinkling them over cooked oatmeal, adding a little cinnamon and dried fruit. You'll have a snack that's excellent for your bones. However, I need to emphasize a very important point. Selenium is a double-edged sword. If deficient, bones weaken, but if in excess, it can cause many problems, from hair loss, brittle nails, to heart rhythm disturbances in sensitive individuals. Therefore, you should not exceed 4 Brazil nuts per day, and absolutely do not take high-dose selenium pills without a doctor's prescription. This is a micronutrient that should not be self-supplemented with pills, especially for older adults taking various other medications. Besides dosage limits, some of my patients ask, can I eat these nuts if I have kidney disease? The answer is, if your kidney function is stable, you don't have severe kidney failure, and there are no contraindications regarding sodium or protein intake, then you can absolutely consume Brazil nuts at a rate of 3 to 4 nuts per day. However, if you are undergoing dialysis or have strict limits on mineral intake, you should consult a specialist first. I have also met many patients who thought, the more, the better, and accidentally consumed 8 to 10 nuts at once because they tasted good. With Brazil nuts, that is not advisable. They have a rich, slightly earthy, easy-to-eat flavor, but they are extremely rich in selenium. Even a slight overdose over many days can lead to accumulation. Therefore, moderation is key. If you've tried many ways to keep your bones strong, from drinking milk to taking calcium pills, but still haven't seen significant improvement, it could be that you're lacking an important component like selenium. And Brazil nuts are a simple, effective source you can start with today. And what I like most, it's the feeling when patients come back after a few months saying their legs feel stronger, less tired when climbing stairs, and more confident when standing for long periods or walking in the park. No major changes needed, just a few small nuts each day and gentle persistence. Have you ever tried Brazil nuts? If not, you might start this afternoon, just 3 small nuts, and you're giving your thigh bones a chance to get stronger every day. What if there was a tasty nut that could help with hormone balance and boost bone health for women after menopause? That's exactly what we'll explore in our next section, number 3, soy nuts. If I had to choose one nut to represent the strength of women after 50, I would unhesitatingly name soy nuts, roasted soybeans. Compact, crispy, nutritious, and especially possessing something few other nuts can match, isoflavones, plant compounds that can mimic estrogen gently but effectively. And that makes soy nuts an excellent choice for those entering the stage where their bones begin to erode little by little without even knowing it. I once had a patient, a 62-year-old woman named Linda, who came to my clinic in a state of confusion. She said that ever since menopause, her legs had become much weaker. Standing for long periods caused pain in both thighs, and climbing stairs made her tremble. She drank calcium, ate plenty of green vegetables, and even practiced yoga regularly, but when her bone density was measured, her femoral neck still showed significant decline. After a thorough inquiry, I realized one thing that she, and many other women after 50, were missing: a gentle source of plant-based estrogen, something that could help maintain the balance between bone formation and resorption that the body once had from the ovaries. This is precisely why soy nuts are worth including in the list of bone-friendly nuts, especially for the legs, an area very sensitive to hormone decline after menopause. In a woman's body, estrogen acts as a delicate conductor. It helps keep bone-forming and bone-resorbing cells working in harmony, neither overpowering the other. But after menopause, estrogen levels drop sharply, and that's like a construction crew losing its manager. Bone-resorbing cells start overworking, while bone-forming cells gradually tire out. The result is weakened bones, especially in weight-bearing areas like the femoral neck. And that's also where fractures are most likely to occur if a woman unfortunately falls. At this point, isoflavones in soy nuts can intervene gently. Unlike synthetic estrogen often prescribed and sometimes causing concern due to side effects, isoflavones act as a soft copy of estrogen. They bind to estrogen receptors in bone tissue and help slow down bone resorption after menopause. The two main isoflavones are genistein and digoxin, precisely the substances that have been most studied over the past 2 decades. A 3-year clinical study in the US showed that healthy postmenopausal women, when supplemented with about 120 milligrams of isoflavones from soy nuts daily, experienced a slower rate of whole body bone loss, especially in the spine and femoral neck. Although the effect on the femoral neck was slightly more modest than on the spine, it was still noteworthy. A meta-analysis comprising 24 other randomized clinical trials also yielded similar results. Isoflavones helped reduce markers of bone resorption like DPD and showed a tendency to increase bone density in the spine and hip regions. In terms of practical use, soy nuts are incredibly easy to incorporate. You can buy dry roasted, unsalted varieties at most supermarkets in the US, usually found in the healthy snack or vegetarian food sections. Eating about a small handful, roughly 30 grams, in the late afternoon or as a snack between meals is sufficient. I encourage eating slowly and chewing thoroughly, as soy nuts are quite crunchy and can cause bloating if eaten too quickly. Another plus is that soy nuts are not only good for bones, but also very rich in protein, with about 12 to 14 g of protein per serving. This helps a lot in maintaining muscle mass, an equally important factor as bone health in preventing falls and loss of leg strength. If you combine soy nuts with a little unsweetened dried fruit like raisins or dried cranberries, you'll have a snack that's both delicious and effective for supporting bone and muscle. However, there are also some precautions to note. People with hypothyroidism, especially those taking thyroid hormone medication like levothyroxine, should be cautious when consuming soy nuts too close to medication time. Isoflavones in soy can slightly affect drug absorption if taken too close together. Ideally, you should eat them at least 4 hours apart from your medication to avoid interaction. Additionally, if you have a history of breast cancer, you should consult with your oncologist before regularly consuming isoflavones from any source. Although many recent studies suggest that dietary soy is safe for most cases. For me, soy nuts are not just a food. They are a strategic choice for postmenopausal women. No need for synthetic hormones, no need for specialized medication, just gentle persistence every day. Small nuts, but their impact on bones is far from small. But if you think only soy contains benevolent, active compounds for bones, then you might be surprised by the next nut. A tiny, humble seed that we often just sprinkle on bread or add to soup for flavor. But hidden within it is a completely different mechanism. Unlike soy, unlike chia, it's like a biological brake for the silent process of bone breakdown that occurs after age 60. That seed is food number 4, sesame seeds. I have to admit, among the dozens of foods I've researched and recommended to older patients, sesame seeds are a very special case. They're not overly prominent, don't have massive marketing campaigns, and aren't listed among the superfoods in the media. But the deeper I delve into their mechanism, the more I look at the real-world results, the more I believe. Sesame seeds deserve a place in the strategy for protecting bone density, especially in the legs. The reason is that sesame seeds are not just a good source of minerals. They also contain rare compounds that few would expect, capable of precisely regulating the activity of bone-resorbing cells. Specifically, these are sesamin and sesamol, two compounds belonging to the lignan group, with a special chemical structure found only in sesame family seeds. They act as natural regulators, helping to reduce the Rankel signal, a biological signal that causes bone-resorbing cells to accelerate their activity after age 50. And when Rankel is inhibited, the bone gnawing process slows down. Not only that, sesamin also has a second role that I find very impressive. It activates the activity of RUNX2, a factor that promotes bone-forming cells to work more consistently. In other words, sesame not only breaks destruction, but also gently encourages regeneration, bringing a crucial balance in older adults, especially postmenopausal women. Clinical evidence for these effects is becoming increasingly clear. A 2023 review analyzing studies on diets containing sesame found that sesame helped improve T-scores and reduce joint pain in mild postmenopausal women. The T-score is an index used in osteoporosis measurements to assess bone mineral density. This means that regular consumption of sesame can be associated with better bone density and less pain in weight-bearing joints like the knees and ankles, key bone areas supporting walking and balance. However, like any other food, the story of sesame seeds isn't entirely rosy. Some animal model studies warn that excessively high doses of sesamin, often seen when using concentrated extracts, can hinder bone mineralization if used continuously for prolonged periods. Hearing this might make you confused, but don't worry, in a normal diet with a moderate amount of sesame, this risk is almost negligible. Therefore, moderation is always key, and I'll share the appropriate way to use it right away. So, are you ready to jot down the usage? 1 tablespoon of roasted sesame seeds, equivalent to about 9 grams, daily, is the ideal amount for people over 60 who want to support their bones and joints. I often advise patients to sprinkle sesame seeds on their lentil soup, cooked oatmeal, or fresh vegetable salad. Just a little roasted sesame immediately releases its aroma, and the mild, nutty taste makes the dish easier to eat, without needing added sugar or salt. You can also use ground sesame, called tahini, popular in Middle Eastern and European cuisine, to spread on whole wheat bread in the morning instead of butter or cheese. Tahini is full of good fats, lignans, and minerals like calcium and magnesium, very good for both bones and cardiovascular health when consumed in moderation. For older adults who need to monitor their weight, I often advise using only about 1.5 tablespoons of tahini per day, avoiding too much as the calorie content can be high. However, not everyone is suitable for sesame seeds. If you have ever had a sesame allergy, even mild symptoms like a rash, itchy lips, or discomfort after eating bread sprinkled with sesame, it's best to avoid it completely. Sesame allergies are becoming increasingly common in the US, and when they occur, the reactions are often quite strong and should not be taken lightly. Additionally, people with a history of calcium oxalate kidney stones should also be aware, as sesame may contain natural oxalates. Although the content is not as high as in spinach, if eaten in large and frequent amounts, it can contribute to an increased risk of stone crystallization. Another common question from patients is, are white or black sesame seeds better? The answer is that both are good if used in roasted form. Black sesame may contain higher amounts of anthocyanins, characteristic antioxidants in dark colors, but in terms of sesamin and minerals, both white and black sesame seeds are relatively similar. What's more important is how you use them, the frequency, and the combination with your overall meal. I really like encouraging older adults to experiment with sesame as it's a way to dip their toes into preventive nutrition without changing too much. No need for supplements, no need for blood level monitoring, just a jar of roasted sesame seeds in the pantry and a small spoon every day. Gentle, easy to do, but providing enough biological effect to support one of the most important processes after age 60. Keeping bones from deteriorating slowly, especially in the legs. If you once thought only medication or milk could fight osteoporosis, perhaps it's time to re-examine the value of small things like sesame seeds. And if you're looking for a solution with stronger data, proven by rigorous clinical trials, then the last nut will greatly surprise you, a familiar snack, yet possessing the ability to significantly increase bone density in the thigh and lower back in just 6 months of consistent use. Can you guess what nut it is? Let's move on to the strongest candidate, almonds. You're probably very familiar with almonds, the type of nut often pre-packaged in healthy snack bags, found right next to the checkout counter at supermarkets. People usually eat almonds for weight loss, to supplement good fats, or to control blood sugar. But very few people know that almonds are also one of the few nuts that have been directly validated in clinical studies, with results showing they can increase bone density in the thigh and lower back in older women. I remember this study clearly because it is so rare, a double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, meaning participants didn't know if they were in the real group or the control group, and the evaluators also didn't know, lasted 6 months and was conducted on women aged 55 to 70 with a low bone density. The group that consumed almonds ate 43 grams, approximately 15 to 20 nuts, daily, while the control group consumed carbohydrate-rich foods. After 6 months, the almond-eating group showed an increase in bone density in the femoral neck and lumbar spine, while the control group did not improve. This is truly remarkable, as the femoral neck is the most common fracture site when older adults fall, and not many foods can demonstrate such a clear impact on that specific area in such a short period. So what makes almonds so special? First, almonds are an excellent source of bone-forming minerals such as calcium, magnesium, manganese, and phosphorus, all present in small but consistent proportions, perfectly suited for the aging body that needs slow but steady intake. But it's not just minerals. Almonds also contain arginine, a special amino acid that can help improve blood circulation to peripheral bone areas, thanks to its ability to stimulate nitric oxide production. As a result, oxygen-rich blood and nutrients are delivered more effectively to vulnerable bone tissues, like the femoral neck, supporting regeneration. That's not all. The almond skin contains a large amount of antioxidant polyphenols, which help reduce lipid peroxidation, a process that causes bone trabeculae to thin when subjected to oxidative stress. Simply put, the polyphenols in almonds help preserve sharp bone structures from erosion by oxidative factors in the body. One aspect I really appreciate about almonds is their convenience. No complicated preparation, no complex storage. You just need to have a bag of unsalted, dry roasted almonds, and each day take out a handful, about 15 to 20 nuts. This is the ideal serving to provide enough nutrients for your bones without exceeding necessary calorie intake if you're monitoring your weight. I often suggest patients eat almonds in the late afternoon when feeling slightly hungry instead of eating cookies or sweets. You can combine almonds with a few apple slices, some fresh blueberries, or unsweetened raisins. The natural sweetness of the fruit will highlight the nutty flavor of the almonds, while also providing additional fiber and vitamin C, a nutrient that supports calcium absorption and collagen synthesis in bones. Some people like to eat almonds with unsweetened Greek yogurt as a morning snack or after exercise. This method is also very effective, as it combines protein, good fats, minerals, and probiotics. However, like all nuts, almonds are not without points to consider. Because they are energy dense, a 43-gram serving contains about 250 calories. Those who need to control their weight should adjust their intake of other carbohydrates and fats throughout the day. For example, if you eat almonds in the afternoon, you should slightly reduce your portion of bread at dinner to avoid excess calories. Additionally, for those with sensitive digestive systems, it's advisable to chew each nut thoroughly, avoiding eating too quickly or consuming too much at once, as almonds contain a relatively high amount of fiber, which can cause bloating if eaten rapidly. Another small note is raw, unroasted almonds often contain anti-nutrients, phytate, a compound that can inhibit the absorption of iron, zinc, and calcium. Therefore, I always recommend using dry roasted, unsalted almonds to remove most of the phytate while retaining the nutrients. When I tell patients that just eating 15 to 20 almonds daily for 6 months can visibly improve bone density in the thighs and spine, they are often surprised at first, but after a few weeks of trying, many return saying they feel steadier on their feet, less tired when walking for long periods, and especially more confident when climbing stairs. And I know it's not just because of the almonds, but because they are starting to take active care of their bones from the smallest things. If you are looking for something familiar, easy to eat, and with clear scientific evidence of its ability to improve bone density, then almonds are a worthy champion on today's list. After accompanying you through 5 types of nuts, perhaps the most important thing I want to re-emphasize is this. Each type of nut has its own role for bones, especially leg bones. You don't need to use all of them. Instead, choose 1 to 2 types that best suit your body and lifestyle. If you are just starting to take care of your bones and want a simple, gentle approach, chia seeds are the easiest option to begin with. They support gentle remineralization, are easy to incorporate into breakfast, and are suitable for those not used to eating nuts regularly. If you are concerned about your thighs, the most common fracture site in falls, and want to target a strong antioxidant system for your bones, then Brazil nuts are a good choice. Just 3-4 nuts a day is enough, but you need to be careful not to overdose to avoid excess selenium. For postmenopausal women who are starting to experience mild bone thinning, soy nuts are a special ally. The isoflavones in soy help rebalance the bone formation, resorption process when hormone levels decline. However, if you are taking thyroid medication, you need to eat them a few hours apart from your medication. If you prefer to sprinkle nuts on your daily meals like porridge, salad, or soup, then roasted sesame seeds are a natural and subtle addition. The sesamin compounds in sesame help reduce the rate of bone breakdown, but you should avoid them if you have a history of allergies or oxalate kidney stones. Finally, if you want to choose a nut with the clearest scientific evidence of its ability to increase bone density, then almonds are the deserving champion. 15 to 20 nuts a day for 6 months has been shown to increase bone density in the thigh and lower back, according to rigorous clinical studies. Whichever nut you choose, the most important thing is to maintain consistency every day. A small handful of nuts may not change anything after a week, but after 3 to 6 months, it can be a silent support for your legs. You don't need to do everything perfectly, just one small right thing every day, and start today. Perhaps you're thinking, just a few nuts a day, will that really make a difference? I understand that feeling, because sometimes tiny things are hard to trust. But it's that very consistency and quietness that the body after 60 needs most. A handful of nuts every morning, a spoonful of sesame every evening, not loudly, but little by little, helping your bones become stronger. Keeping your legs steady isn't just about maintaining your gait, it's about preserving freedom. The freedom to climb stairs without holding on, the freedom to walk in the park without fear of your knees giving out, the freedom to visit family and friends without needing anyone to guide your steps. Have you ever tried any of these nuts? How effective have they been for your legs? Share in the comments, because who knows, your small experience might give hope to someone struggling to regain their stability.